Namaste, this is Shakti. I am the co founder of Spiritual Alignment. And today I am sharing with you how I overcame my trauma and opened myself up to celebration of this miraculous life. You may have known me from my school days in Delhi. You may have known me from my engineering days. You may have known me from my Carnegie Mellon days doing masters. You may have seen me at Chicago Booth doing my MBA. You may have come across me at FedEx in Pittsburgh or at JP Morgan Chase in Delaware. We might have met in Accenture in doing management consulting, or I may have come across you at Wells Fargo. We may have connected after I retired for my corporate career. And while you may know me from these different paths, from these titles, from these degrees, what you may not know about me is that I have been experiencing suicidal tendencies all my life. I'm a survivor of physical abuse. I was in a relationship with a narcissist partner who ended up cheating on me, who raped me. And I have held so much pain in my body, my physical body, my emotional body, that has, for the longest time, has left me without any hope. And the reason I am sharing all this with you today is that while my background may look perfect on paper, while I appear to have all the right credentials to live a successful life, I wasn't happy. I have always experienced a void in my heart. And it is very common for people like us who may look very high functioning, high performers on the paper to live a life where we are experiencing void. And the reason I'm sharing this with you again is that people who look normal on the surface may be battling an experience that may not be normal for them. So let's just take a deep breath right here so that we can hold a little bit more compassion for ourselves, for not having this so-called normal life, and for other people in our world who may be silently suffering in their own very unique ways. This world can absolutely use more compassion, and I am just honored that it begins with you and me today. My story started 42 years ago. My mom and dad conceived me after 8 years of their wedding. During those 8 years, they experienced 3 miscarriages and a stillbirth before me. And how the timing worked out, my mom had a stillborn, a baby boy. She delivered that stillborn baby, and right after giving birth to him, I was conceived. Matter of maybe weeks. So I was conceived in this energy of grief. My parents did not know whether I would live. And at that point, my mom was going through so much pain in her life from her relationships. She was going through this internal crisis that was too unbearable for her, overwhelming for her. She was also considering giving up on her life. And me as a baby soaked all that energy, all her emotion, and kept hoping and praying that she would live. I soaked in so much grief from her that was unprocessed from the birth prior to me, and really took on my body. Took on so much that my body stopped moving. A normal, healthy baby moves, I don't even know, 50 times, 100 times a day. I went into a freeze, emotionally as well as physically. And all of this freeze created more panic, created more urgency. My parents moved from their hometown to New Delhi in hopes of getting the right medical care, support to be able to birth me. They did not know if I would live. They did not know if they would go through that same grief cycle over and over again. And I'm pretty sure at some point they stopped feeling. It was too much. It was too much. They did not have the tools, they did not have the support to understand what was going on. And right then, my freeze became the normal in my life for the rest of my life. Right then, I learned how to give up on life through my mom. I learned to be in survival. That is where my story began. Fast forward to completing 9 months in, not even 9 months, I think 8 months in utero. I was born early. Doctors have to induce me, get me out. And in a lot of these events, complete survival was running the show of my life. Complete survival, the doctors, the panic, the urgency, the emergency, and they induced me. I wasn't ready to come out. They induced me. I popped out like I came out. And I came out, and the nurse took me to my mom. And the first thing, my mom, who did not know any better at that time, she saw me and she said to herself, she had this thought: it's not the boy I lost. It's not the good looking baby I lost. And somehow that became the identity of my life, to be a replacement baby that can never match to parents' expectations. Become this girl who never felt good enough, who never felt her worth, who never felt valued, who never felt loved. Just these events just shaped my entire life. That is really how my story began. Let's take another deep breath right here. So I did what I knew the best. I was in this freeze response. I learned two things in life growing up. Number one, you have to tolerate your pain. You have to tolerate your pain. And you have to make your mind stronger than your emotions. That's my learning number one. My second learning was around survival. The more you become successful in life, the more you have degrees and titles, the stronger are your chances to survive. Really, first learning about emotions. Tolerate your emotions. Hold that pain in. And second, your degrees and titles define your self-worth, your chances of surviving in this really harsh world. And so I did exactly that. All of this was a mystery to me, trust me. All of this was confusing to my mind because I always had these thoughts of giving up, thoughts of survival, thoughts of lack, thoughts of not feeling good enough, thoughts of giving up on life, suicide. I have 2 suicide attempts under my belt. Somehow, the universe wanted me to live, and I don't take this for granted. There's a reason why I am alive. There's a really big reason why even though I wanted several times to give up, somehow I kept going. And that reason is this: to be able to share this message of celebration of our miraculous life. Me standing here today, me speaking, me sharing my message, my experience is the miracle. All odds were against me to not live. All odds pushed me to the corner many, 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 many times to give up. And if you are hearing this message today, I just want you to take a deep breath with me and know that there is hope. Fast forward to me at the age of 30, meeting the love of my life, my husband Mitesh. He's also the co-founder of Spiritual Alignment. Mitesh has been a yogi all his life. This guy is incredible, such a powerful man, yet so humble, so full of wisdom. He emanates peace. Meeting him was also somehow happened by chance. Somehow I truly believe that the universe brought us together for a very divine purpose. But what it did to me is that meeting him really showed me hope, showed me another way of being where I am not as stressed, I am not as triggered by survival. I can smile, I can be present in my body because he was doing all of this. And he had his journey to come to that point. But just being with him really amplified this part of me that was so sensitive, that just had this heart of compassion, kindness. I have always been a sensitive little girl in my heart. And being with him not only helped me amplify that sensitivity, normalize that sensitivity, but it had me rest. It had me just drop in my body. It had me breathe, which was so confusing at first in my mind because I was just confused. Like, could people live in a different way too, where they're just being connected to their heart? And that is what he did to me. But just like a person who have had a bad relationship, always keep attracting pain, I attracted a lot of pain from him as well. And that really created awakening for me, my spiritual awakening. This is the time when we were married and I was 8 months pregnant, and there's a theme that showed up in our relationship that was a huge trigger at that time. And somehow that theme, this like repeated pattern, had my mind really confused to the point that I had to ask myself, wait a minute, my previous partner did this to me, and this is happening again with this partner who is the man of my dreams. What is wrong? And I realized at that point, there's like this epiphany came that 2 things. One is start looking deep within you and learn intuition. I did not know why I was getting these like strong nudges to learn intuition. And I realized that intuition was really came in as a tool in my life to help me look within myself, to help me understand what was going on, what was creating all these repeated patterns in my life. Awakening happened. A month later, I gave birth to my firstborn. He is going to be 9 years old soon, within a couple months. And something about that unmedicated birth, something about that complete primal raw feeling of this like opening that happened in my heart. My body also created an opening in my heart. My baby came out. I held him for the first time. And I felt this like surge of love that I have never felt before, ever before in my life. Yes, there was a lot of pain that went into this unmedicated birth. But the love I felt just shook me out of my slumber. The love that I experienced again was confusing to my mind at first, but it was like, wait, there's another way of being, there's another way of feeling internally. And now this is a person who's never felt her emotions, always been super sensitive, highly sensitive, never felt her emotions, never knew what love is about, always felt this like carried this like heaviness in her heart around rejection, around feeling rejected, around just never meeting expectations. And now I felt love. Fast forward more. I gave birth to my second child about 2.5 years later. And again, this time I had home birth. Again, unmedicated, and just really deepened the trust in my body. And by that time, I already knew intuition. I was like practicing and so on. And I was just revealed that there's a whole family line of intuitive, sensitive women that I come from. And a lot of the pain that I feel is really important. It's really important to really help me own my sensitivity as my power. And that is really the birth of my second child, which was even more miraculous. It opened me up even more to the depths that I can't even express to you, because this time I had a girl. And the way partnerships were designed, I learned to feel, I learned so much from my kids. My kids grew up, and you can probably feel the excitement in my voice too, like my whole vibe is shifting. I learned from my kids the most important lessons of my life. My my daughter taught me it's okay to feel. And she literally says these words. And this is like a 3 year old girl who does not know how to form full sentences yet, right? And what she tells me is that, Mama, when you are sad, cry. When you're mad, scream. When you are, yeah, she just gave me this formula. When you are happy, just laugh. And that formula, this wisdom from this 3 year old little girl became my anchor point in life. I started to unfreeze my emotions from her. And my boy, who was at that time 5 years old, we started getting into these situations, and he started telling me these things, such important lessons about play, importance of play. Like, he naturally is just such an innocent little boy, you know, who barely goes in survival. When he goes in survival, it's written all over his face. And I started picking these cues, like all this intuitiveness in me really helped me understand the medicine each one of my kids were holding. And my boy's message was so clear: don't overthink life. Look, you're never gonna win it. Go play, go play. Feel emotions and play. Feel love and play. Feel emotions, the grief, the sadness, the anger, all of that. Feel it in entirety to open yourself to love, Shakti. And with that love for yourself, go play. That became the mantra for my life. That really opened me up to living life. And since pandemic, a lot of changes happened. I took all this medicine into my client sessions. I have had the honor of working with thousands of clients, facilitating their transformation. And since the pandemic, all those transformations got even much deeper as I kept working on delayering my trauma. I kept understanding how, especially for female, how opening up to emotions is the starting point. Actually, let me backtrack. How safety is the primal thing, it's the primal energy that trigger us most. If a person is feel shut down, closed down because of their trauma, the first thing to look for is safety. Help them feel safe in their body. Then work on the emotions. Help them open up their connection to emotions so that energy is not stuck. Energy can flow. Really help clients and myself to come back in the flow state where the trauma is not stuck and creating this like freeze. It's creating this stop, the stop point where things can, when the emotions, the safety is there, the emotions can flow, the energy can flow in the body. That is when trauma comes, it's experienced, it flows and it's released. It doesn't stay within our field and keep creating the stuckness in our space. And then from there, really activating the heart. Who are you? Who are you? Help you understand, help clients and even myself. This is the exact same process I went through. Understand how trauma is not just the event that has happened to us in this lifetime. Trauma starts from your conception, like it happened for me. Trauma comes from many lifetimes. You may or may not have a one event take place. That trauma event takes place in this lifetime. But it is the soul imprint that comes back to as a lived experience in the body. And all of this is so complex that it almost happened automatically without us realizing what is happening in our life. Trauma comes from our ancestors and lives in our DNA. It is such a primal response. It is this learned behavior of the body to shut down or act in a certain way to cope that trauma. It is that learned behavior of the mind to be in the state of freeze, fight, fawn, right? Freeze, fight, fawn. And I know I'm forgetting one. Yeah, my brain is not working. It's okay. It's a trauma brain. It's okay. It's okay to not remember. There are 4 trauma responses. And this is how our mind really remembers to respond to trauma. And this is all happening within us in very complex dynamics. This is all acting out in relationships. And this all can be healed. This all can be healed by bringing the body back in that safety. It all can be healed by opening the emotions and letting the emotions really flow. Allowing and creating space to share those emotions, express those emotions by learning to create boundaries, energetic boundaries, right? Because I soaked in a lot of trauma. Energetic boundary, emotional boundaries, boundaries around how you feel. boundaries around how you operate at work, and allowing and bringing the mind to the state of relaxation, training the mind to relax, training the body to breathe, training the soul to set very clear, clean agreements with other partners who have incarnated with you, your family, right? Your friends, your coworkers, um, your beloved, your family, your kids. And a lot of these agreements are such high level soul agreements that it becomes important to set the energy at that level so that things can start to flow in the body, the change start to happen in your life all around. And that is really my formula of healing from trauma. This is what created liberation for me. This is what helped me anchor on trusting myself, trusting the universe, trusting this everything that is happening in my world. Instead of reacting to it or taking offense to things or feeling like a victim, we literally have to change that identity of a victim into anchoring on who are you as a soul? Who are you in your full potential? Who are you as this, person, as this human being holding so much soul light? That identity, once that identity shifts, everything starts flowing so much easily. And it is a process, don't get me wrong. It's a process, but what that process does, that all that inner work we put in together, what that does is it helps you trust yourself. It helps you actually love yourself. It helps you love yourself so much. Because the way we live life is from these holes, these voids, and we're looking for others to kind of fill these holes and love us, and we're just desperate and we make the wrong choices. We solidify that self-love, we solidify that self-worth, and then we step into trusting the world, the universe, to really give us what we're worthy of. And that is really how we liberate ourselves from trauma. Yeah. Let's take another deep breath right here in this medicine. Inhale. So if you have experienced trauma in your life, or you know a loved one who have experienced trauma in their life, I want you to share this message with them. I want you to take this message for yourself and know that there's hope out there. I want you to share this message of hope with as many people as you know in your life who can benefit from this message. And really that last piece is everything in life can be changed. Everything can be transformed. Your mind, your body, your emotions, your energies. It simply needs willingness to do that. It simply needs a yes from you. And that yes, that permission slip creates a transformation from you, creates a transformation for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful rest of your day.